Hey guys, it's me, Timmy Jimmy. Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry about that long upload time, but I have still been working on the game, and I've added a whole bunch of new weapons in that time. So one of the weapon, well, I guess we've had. So one of the weapons I've already had in the game was the flail, and the flail's old gimmick. You know, you spin it, and then the longer you spin it, the more damage it does. But I've made some changes to it. So one change I've made to it is that if you hold up while releasing the button, you will do some. You'll be able to throw the. It'll make the ball fling over the enemy's shield, and you'll do some free damage. And then the other thing that I've changed about is it does percentages of damage rather than full damage values, which makes it much stronger against stronger enemies, but weaker against weaker enemies. So here are some pretty weak enemies right here. You know, not a lot. But if I use a sword, then yeah, he's just downed, you know. But if I were to do it against this plate armor guy, who these plate armor enemies are way stronger. They do a lot more damage. They have a lot more health. You know, let me just show you kind of how powerful he is here. You know, it's just like I'm only doing one damage to him, and then if I get hit here, yeah, he's not messing around. Didn't even let me finish my thought. How rude. But if you have the flail, that's half his health gone. So yeah, the flail is pretty powerful against these stronger plate armor enemies. So then the next weapon that I've added is the axe. And the axe's whole gimmick is that it's slower than your sword, but you can't take knockback while you're swinging the weapon, or you can't take knockback from blocking while swinging the weapon. It does extra damage, and if you hit it on the shield of an enemy while they're standing, they'll be forced into this little crouch animation, which will allow you to follow up with a stronger attack. So, yeah, just kind of melted them. So if you liked that weapon, there's the Great Axe, which has the weaknesses and strengths of the axe amplified. You can't block while using it, and it's even slower than the normal axe. But it does more damage, and it stuns them for longer, and it has more range. But you want to use it strategically because you can't block, so enemies can fairly easily take advantage of this. Let me just show the damage. So yeah, pretty powerful. But if I were to use it recklessly, look at that. He took advantage of that pretty quickly, so use it carefully. Then another weapon I've added is the torch, and what the torch does is you throw it on the ground and it creates a fire, and when that fire is out there, enemies can touch it, and if they touch it, they'll take burn damage, and they don't want to take burn damage, so if you throw it in front of them, then then they'll just stop, and it can give you time to deal with other things. So if you're surrounded by enemies and want to kill some weaker enemies before a stronger enemy, this torch will help you buy that time. So now I can fight this guy without having to worry. And also, if you kind of hit the little gaps in the armor on the plate armor enemies, you can do even more damage. You can do a lot of damage to them, and that's how you would deal with them if you didn't have sub weapons. But it's a lot harder to pull off because you need full rage, you need to be in a brawl, and there's all these circumstances you need. So yeah. So then we've added some other I've added some other projectile weapons, such as the bow. And what the bow does is, so you take, let me move that guy over there, is that if you have some annoying enemy in the backline, such as the archer from my previous video, the bow will be able to kind of auto-lock onto those kinds of enemies, and you can shoot an arrow over the head of the enemy you're looking at, and it will go after them. Oh, and hold up. Yeah, so he's kind of been obliterated, and yeah. So that's the bow. Then the crossbow it's kind of like the bow, except it takes a little bit longer to load and fire, but it can pierce through multiple enemies. So also these weapons will have limited ammunition, so I'm going to do something which you need a lot of ammunition to do for in game, because ammo is going to be pretty rare. As you can see, it's pretty powerful, but it leaves you exposed while you're loading and firing, so yeah. Gotta be careful with that. So then the next weapon I've added is the dagger, and it's pretty, well yeah, the dagger. So this dagger, if it doesn't really function like the other sub-weapons, because when you press the sub-weapon button it won't actually do anything, but if it'll upgrade some of your normal moves. So if you parry, it'll remove the vulnerability window where you're exposed after parrying, so that makes parrying a little bit more of a safe maneuver. Like, enemies will still be able to hit you if you, if you parry wrong, but it just makes it a little safer, and it also makes your down thrust lethal. I'm gonna test it on the plate armor enemy just to show how powerful down thrusting with the dagger can be. And he's already dead. Yeah, the dagger's a little, it's kind of busted in those situations where you have an advantage, but you need to get there first. So then the next weapon, speaking of knives, is the throwing knife. And the throwing knife, you just throw a knife, and yeah, it's kind of like it basically just works. It's basically just gonna work like the throwing knife in Castlevania. You just throw it. It does some okay damage. It'll do the same damage as your sword, but yeah, it's just a fast projectile which you can use, and you'll be able to only hold like 5 of them, I'm thinking. But yeah. Then we have the spear, and the spear is a pretty fun weapon because well, first of all, it's fast, and it leaves you exposed, so you can like kind of. It also has extra range, so you can use it to kind of deal with enemies behind the enemy you're already fighting while you're using it. But the other gimmick is you can use it to kind of hold enemies off. So if I do it like that, and I use the pattern right, I can keep him away, but it leaves me exposed, so you gotta watch out for that. But he'll block it if you stabbed him in that area before, so you gotta alternate your stabs to be able to catch him off guard. So yeah, pretty fun weapon. Then we have the claymore, and the claymore, again, it's an okay weapon. It has okay speed, but it takes a lot of stamina. It's a pretty committal weapon to use, so use it. Look at that damage. It's pretty pathetic, and I'm already out of stamina from using it. I'd just rather use my sword. It's more consistent against normal enemies with at least chainmail armor above. But if I were to summon a comically large amount of enemies which don't have very good armor, like leather armor below, I'll let the clip speak for itself. This immediately gets clips, but yeah. And boom, boom, yeah. kills them so fast. Let me just show that again. Yeah, so it just kind of mows down weaker enemies. It's like the Fodder Destroyer 9000. But yeah, so that's it. That's pretty much all the weapons I've added to the game since then. I've added some bosses and some other enemies and such, but don't want to spoil anything. I don't know if you guys really want to see it, but maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll try to upload more consistently from now on, and yeah, we'll see y'all later. Bye.